Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV, and man, this is what I get for taking some time off. We went to go see Ghostbusters earlier tonight, and all hell broke loose. Apparently, the editor-in-chief of Kotaku left in a huff, and now their journalists are turning on them because, God forbid, Kotaku wants them to stick to sports, or rather, stick to games. Like, look, I think this is probably the end of Kotaku. Kotaku is owned by Geo Media, which shut down Deadspin recently because of that lawsuit over the 9-year-old Kansas City Chief fan that they decided to call a racist for wearing blackface, and that was not true. Now there's a defamation suit. Their numbers have been dropping off a cliff. Their social media presence is dire. Their YouTube channel is practically dead. And now we've got several of their journalists turning on them publicly, and the editor-in-chief leaving. Oh boy. So we're going to talk about this. I think this is definitely End Stage Kotaku, and I've actually done a video called End Stage Kotaku. This is 3 months ago. Look at that. It's almost as if we saw that coming. I think everybody could see this coming, but I think the situation with Sweet Baby Inc. and Gamergate probably hastened the demise of Kotaku. And I think we will see the end of it this year, just like we saw the end of Rooster Teeth. It's not sustainable. I know what the ad rates are like. I've been doing videos on it telling you guys what the ad rates are like right now, and they're not good. And, Kotaku is effectively cracking the whip on its employees and telling them to churn out as much content as they can, but they're saying that they want them to lift video game guides and stuff from other websites. I don't know. We're going to look into this. Like I said, this is what I get for taking time off to go watch a movie. And we will have a review for you tomorrow of Ghostbusters 4. I guess it's technically Ghostbusters 4, Frozen Empire. It was okay. It was all right. Anyway, back to this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, you will get a woohoo if you do. Oh, no, you won't. She's not in this video. I'm sorry. Geeky is sitting this one out. There's no woohoos. And there are no woohoos over at Kotaku, which has been the laughing stock of video game journalism for probably a decade or so now. It used to actually be a fairly reputable site, if you can believe it. But they went all political, and this is where we're at. So let's see here. This is coming from Grums, who Grums was actually on a recent episode of Derezzed, which is one of our podcasts, and we were actually talking about artificial intelligence. We weren't talking about video games, but you can check that out. But we'll go down the list here and see what is going on. He says, here's the quick rundown. Jen Glennon, EIC, tweets she has resigned. Mad Kotaku writers spill the beans. They must dump news and write game guides. Okay, so this is interesting because that is one of the things that I've speculated on in the past. I didn't know for 100%, but now it seems to be confirmed as true that Kotaku gets most of its traffic from video game guides and not from their hot takes on what's problematic in video games, or politics, or hit pieces on developers. You know what I'm saying? That's not where their traffic actually comes from. These bloggers don't really bring any value. People are just looking for information on how to beat video games. Imagine that. They don't want to hear their opinions. So former Kotaku head Nathan Grayson tells us 7 writers are left, must churn out 50 guides per week. So it's like 10 guides per day in a 5-day work week. Is that possible? Well, with the help of AI and plagiarism, it certainly is. This is Carolyn Petit, extremely proud of Jen for taking this ethical stance in response to profoundly misguided anti-journalism edicts from Geo Media Management. She said, some personal news: I've resigned from Kotaku, and Jim Spanfeller is an herb. He's an herb. This is somebody else, Levi Winslow. You know what? Fuck it. Here's a small cup of tea. Management doesn't even care about the quality of the guides. No, they don't. They care about the numbers. They want us to aggregate them from other sites like a literal content mill. I hate to break it to you. That is, for better or for worse, that is the utter state of digital journalism right now. And it's not going to get better. In fact, Google is going to kill that off eventually in the very near future, because Google is going to allow people to ask them, how do you beat this level in this video game? And it will give you a 1 or 2 paragraph summary, and you won't even have to go out to a website to get that information. So, I mean, this is just buying time until the inevitable, which is these sites get snapped. They're destroying people's livelihoods. That they're destroying people's livelihoods gags me, not in a good way. It is inevitable. If you are a video game journalist or any kind of a journalist, please go back, watch the last couple of videos I've done on the state of search and on the state of digital journalism, and it's not good. I own several websites, and we've been managing websites for 15, almost 20 years. Actually, if you count some sites I managed for somebody else. And this is the worst it's ever been, ever in that amount of time. And you sweet summer children have no idea how good you had it, because there's lots of venture capital and lots of free-flowing ad revenue. And a lot of that came from venture capital, and that's all gone. It's all gone now. Levi continues in this tweet. Last thing I'll say is this. Someone at the top told us to just get guides done because the AV Club watches full seasons of a show and still produces their stories. That alone is proof that they don't understand what we do. They don't. They understand the numbers. According to a source close to the situation, Kotaku's staff will be expected to create 50 guides per week. Currently, Kotaku's homepage features a prominent game tips and guides module at the top of the page in a space that was previously reserved for major stories and breaking news, because people are getting their major stories and breaking news from social media. They're getting it from Twitter. They're getting it from YouTube. They're getting it from podcasts. This also tells me that they are concerned, I believe, that one of their writers are going to get them in legal trouble, like what happened with Deadspin, where they got sued because of one writer's hot take about that kid who was wearing the red and black face paint, saying that he was a racist. And they got sued and they sold the site off. And guess what? They could very easily sell off Kotaku. I'll tell you what I think is actually going on. I think they're prepping Kotaku for a sale. And they want to sell Kotaku as being like a game facts site. Like that's what this is. It's a site full of video game guides and reviews and, normal stuff, and not rabid hot takes on how gamers are awful and how problematic video games are current year, and Trump, and PlayStation. I guess that was Polygon. But you know what I'm saying? Too many holes in the Xbox Series X or whatever it was. They don't want that. They're going to sell this off and be like, no, this is a great repository of game guides and information. And you're going to give us a couple $1,000,000. You're going to buy it. Bada bing, bada boom. And we're going to be done with it. We're going to be done with you. We're going to scrape you guys off the bottom of our shoe. That's how it's going to work. So this is coming from Reddit. Apparently Aftermath, which I believe is a site started by people that used to work at several different game sites. And this was posted today. Kotaku EIC resigns over new editorial edict. Glennon is the second editor-in-chief of Kotaku since Stephen Totillo's departure in 2021, following Patricia Hernandez, who was fired last year. Aftermath's co-founder Riley McLeod functioned as interim editor-in-chief prior to Hernandez's hiring. After careful consideration, I've concluded the current management structure and decision-making processes at GeoMedia are not aligned with my values and goals for Kotaku. She wrote in her letter of resignation, which was addressed to GeoMedia executives Jim Spanfeller and Leah Goldman. I firmly believe that decision to invert Kotaku's editorial strategy to deprioritize news in favor of guides is fundamentally misguided, given the current infrastructure of the site. Given the lawsuit with Deadspin, I think that's why they're doing it. I'm going to be completely honest. I think they're doing it because they are afraid one of you guys are going to get them sued, and it's safer to just have you work on guides. That is my personal opinion. This decision directly is contradicted by months of traffic data and shows an astonishing disregard for the livelihoods of the remaining writers and editors who work there. It's where the industry is right now. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying it is what it is, and it's going to get worse. We had to lay writers off at some of our sites, and it killed me to do it. but like you're pushing a boulder up a hill at this point. Google is eventually going to be the repository for all knowledge on the internet. That's what their goal is. And they have flat out said, their new head of search flat out said they're going to deprioritize sending traffic to outside websites. It doesn't matter who you are. They want to keep them on Google. They want to keep people on Google. According to a source close to the situation, Kotaku's staff will be expected to create 50 guides a week. Aftermath reached out to Geo Media for comment, but did not immediately receive a response. You probably won't. Since Great Hill Partners' acquisition of the sites, then known as Gizmodo Media, in 2019, the overall portfolio has seen a decline in traffic as well as an exodus of editorial leadership. They sold Deadspin. They laid off all staff working there. In November, Paste bought Jezebel, and that was shut down at first too. And they sold Lifehacker to Ziff Davis, which I totally forgot about. Now, this is interesting. There's a recommended article here called, this is just a couple days ago, workers at the Gamers Group of video game websites describe it as hell. Oh, wow. Inside Baseball. This is interesting. They said the Gamers Group is not good. They said they spoke with 10 current and former workers from multiple sites, from contractors to staff writers to editors-in-chief to management. These discussions paint a picture of a company that was, relative to video games media at least, once a normal place to work, but over the year has radically changed its editorial strategies, resulting in staff burning out. And they bought, the Mary Sue and some other ones. I've heard that too. I've actually heard that from multiple people that have worked in or around these websites. And I'm telling you, it is a panic because even though the traffic is there, you might not have access. Editorial probably doesn't have access unless you're a managing editor or something. They probably don't have access to the revenue being generated by the site. Most people working there. I'm just going to guess. And as such, even if the traffic is good, it doesn't mean the site's making money. We are literally down probably 75% in ad revenue in the last 2 years. Same amount of traffic gets us 25% of what it got us 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And if they're looking to sell these sites, and I think a lot of these corporate entities that own these websites are looking to sell because there's really no future for it. They bought these websites thinking they were going to have this great portfolio of digital assets that they could sell. And now they're seeing that these sites don't fetch any money. They don't. It's a losing proposition. And I think BuzzFeed honestly is to blame for a lot of that because they tried to go public and it failed miserably. And then we just saw a fire sale and we saw all these sites fold. We saw Vox and Vice and all these websites just shuttering. Boom, 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 boom. And everybody's looking at this like, running a website like this, a news blog in this day and age is suicide. It doesn't pay the bills. There's no long-term future in this. And they've tried to get their people to pivot to video or pivot to podcasts or something. You got to have the personality for that. I mean, look at what happened with G4 TV, right? They tried to bring that back and they threw all kinds of money at it, but they didn't have the right personalities. In fact, the personalities they had on air were antagonistic toward gamers and people deliberately did not tune in. And they did not last very long. They lasted less than a year. So I think what's going to happen is the future of gaming journalism, if you want to call it that, is going to be people on YouTube. It's going to be podcasters. It's going to be people with their own websites. I mean, at least I will give Aftermath, I will give them props for going out and starting their own website because that's hard to do now. But I mean, this is it, guys. This is the end of Kotaku, in my personal opinion. I've been calling it for a while now. 3 or 4 months, but people have been saying this for a while. And I'm actually shocked that they did not go out in a blaze of glory with some ridiculous lawsuit over something. I'm actually kind of disappointed that Troy Levitt didn't sue the hell out of him because they effectively cost him his job on Hogwarts Legacy because they found a whole bunch of videos he did back in, actually it wasn't even a whole bunch of videos. It was a handful of videos he did back in like 2014, 2015 that were too Gamergate adjacent. And I think with Gamergate, I think that is a problem. I think with Gamergate 2.0 being in full swing right now, they are trying to stay out of the politics. because they don't want another lawsuit. They don't want to get sued like Deadspin. And if their journos are out there writing hit pieces on gamers and on individuals on the Gamergate side of things or anti-Sweet Baby Inc. side of things, they are definitely opening themselves up to litigation. Doesn't mean you have to agree with them. I'm just saying it is what it is. You know, you start defaming people, you start calling for people to get canceled, and your website is tied to that. Guess who's responsible? So I think they're like, yeah, just do guides. You can't hurt anything. If you're just doing video game guides, you can't hurt anything. You're not going to cause us to get sued. But I think this is the end. I think this is it. I think they'll get sold off or shut down or something in the very near future. Just a hunch I have. We're going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.